Hey everyone, welcome back to How to Be a Poser. Today's figure has me personally all abuzz. You might say I'm buzzing like neon. That's right, it is the Neon Tech Iron Man 3.0 die-cast 6-scale figure by Hot Toys. Let's get started. All right, here's the Iron Man Mark 50 Neon Tech, still in its box, exactly the way that it's going to come to you. You can see that he comes with a lot of cool stuff, like a variety of hands, a couple of different blasters, this little flight nanoparticle thingy, and an energy sword, as well as an energy shield. It's fully transparent this time, that's exciting. Can't wait to see what I can do with all this cool stuff, so let's get rolling. All right, Neon Tech Iron Man 3.0, ready to go. And he really looks sleek once you get him out of the box. It is designed to mimic the look of Tony's tracksuit jacket from the beginning of Infinity War, and I think that's a really brilliant idea. Like, it almost feels like this is just a natural shift. If there wouldn't have been any constraints, design constraints to keep it with the red and gold, the jacket would shift into basically an armored version of itself. If that was the other world, the Elseworlds version of this armor, then that's kind of what we're looking at here. Now, a lot of cool things to do. We've got the aforementioned alligator blaster, the wrist cannon, the sword, the shield. You know what? I don't typically do this with Neon Tech Iron Man armors, but in this particular case, I think I want to get him in flight. So we're going to have to implement that flight stand over there here in a little bit, which means I'm probably going to need a screwdriver. Oh, look. Hot Toys thought to include one. By the way, you may notice, and may not be able to tell, but there are no batteries in here. That's because, that's right, I've already installed them in the figure. Takes a bit of time. I didn't want to take the time to do it on camera. But I will tell you this, and I'm not going to do it for this also because it just takes a good deal of time. And I will activate the lights for the final turnarounds for the images, but when you're posing your figure for display, it might behoove you to go ahead and remove all the different panels, like these on his legs back here. Just take everything off beforehand and pose the figure with the panels that hide the battery compartments off of the figure. That way, you don't have to disrupt your pose any more than you absolutely have to when you're actually turning on the lights. You just flip the switches after the pose is hit, slap those compartments back on, because just look how challenging it can be to take these pieces off. You have to get this shoulder, put this pauldron out of the way, bend this elbow down to get that elbow out of the way, and then that pops off. Then there's another piece over here that also has to pop off in order to access the switch itself. So you have to do multiple things, multiple motions you have to implement before you can actually get the thing to power up. So if you remove these parts before doing it, then you can actually all you have to do is put them back on after you've activated the switches, and then you're much less likely to disrupt your pose. And that's back on. Then bend that elbow out of the way. Get that into place. Waiting for the snap. Infinity War snap, get it? Okay, now that we've got that back on, you can see just how much that motion kind of disrupted the non-pose that I have here. You really have to move that arm around to get the pieces off and to get them back on even. But just taking that little additional step of removing the panels before you get started will help you so much, so much, I promise you. Let's go ahead and slap that bicep back where it's supposed to be. You can see one of the things that happens here is if you move this arm, flex it too much, then it will knock that bicep out of the way. It's meant to do that, just to give you a bit more clearance so that you can move that arm up to 90 degrees and a little beyond. So yeah, take some time before you start to pose this thing to learn all the different points of articulation, which pieces are breakaway, which pieces you need to be careful with, and that will save you from a lot of heartache later on down the line. In the Marvel pantheon, Tony Stark, Iron Man, is basically the knight. And what do we have here today? We have a sword, and we have a shield. This shield, a note on this shield, this is not the shield that comes with the Mark 50. This is a modification of the shield that comes with the Mark 85. So they did give this Mark 50 based armor a little bit of an upgrade, and that's really cool because this is a much more flexible, usable accessory to have in the way that I want to bring it into play today. So let's go ahead. First things first, I'm going to need a particular hand in order to use the sword, and that is this hand. Yeah, the gripping hand. That is going to be a challenge to get that into his hand. So I am going to put it onto the hand before I put the hand onto the body. Really stiff hands there, and I really want to be careful not to damage it. So it's really cold in here too, so it might make it even more difficult than it usually is. I'm a very much a warm-blooded creature. So let's go ahead and just really work that to get it into there. There we go. And see how I kind of twisted that around to the back as it started to go in? That brought the fingers all the way around the blade. Look at that. That already looks badass, and it's not even on his hand. All right, so let's just go ahead and put it on the hand. Oh yeah, this is gonna be fun. So what I want to get him doing is I want to get him kind of extending that shield out like he's blocking, like he's really blocking a blast from, I don't know, a tank, one of Thanos' tanks, or an Outriders don't carry weapons, but any of those creatures at Thanos' command that might carry some sort of an energy weapon. So he's blocking that, or he's blocking a blast from the Infinity Gauntlet. I don't know. We're not even talking about Infinity War or Endgame here. This is basically an Elseworld sort of a thing. It's more Tron-like, so you can tell your own story with these figures. It's one of the cool things about these artistic modifications. Man, you can't see me on camera now, but I've got a big grin on my face from this figure. I'm loving it already. Let's go ahead and see how look how this works. This is great. It's got this awesome padded area in the middle of a circle. You just shove the fist into it. You're done. That's it. Now that's not my pose, obviously, but you get the point. Now let's go ahead and bring the stand over here. I want to go ahead and get that ready to go. Let's see. Thinking he's going to be off of it by about that much. Fortunately, there's a screwdriver, as I said earlier, that comes with the kit for installing the batteries. So we'll get that out here. Oh, wow. That was already pretty tight. How was I able to move that so much? Anyway, just thinking out loud, don't mind me. All right. That's solid. That's not going anywhere. What I want to do is actually hit the pose without the shield first and then bring it into the figure once I get everything established just the way that I want it to be. Now, for the sake of... I think that what I want him to do is I really want him thrusting that forward. So see how my bicep is up at this point. If you rotate it like this, then that's going to rotate the whole arm. So I'm going to mimic that here. And let's turn that torso, which you see I've extended. And then can I drop it back down? Because it doesn't look like I'm bending the torso that much at the lower abdomen. No, it looks like it wants to stay that way. And let's turn the head, make sure I've got the clearance I need, and I do. I'm going to rotate this arm back, get that bicep out of the way so that I don't scratch it, and then bend this arm forward. And then I can rotate this fist and the sword just to kind of create a direction that I want. Now, the legs. You can see that we have these little breakaway areas right here. One here, and is the other one up here? Yeah, there it is. These are designed to give you more clearance when you're lifting the leg up so that you're not scratching your paint or in any other way damaging the figure. Look how much bend we get out of this guy. That's fantastic. Turn that head a little bit more. Let's get this leg back just a little bit and point that foot. And then I really want to kind of get this arm, cock that torso even more, just a little bit of a tilt that way. And then we're going to raise this arm up to compensate for that additional movement. Shoulders in the way. Jeez. There we go. I'm going to go in here to the actual point of articulation and manually rotate that by gripping it between my fingers. And then, wow, which end is up? That end is up. Shove that on there. And the beauty of this thing being transparent is that it doesn't create an issue for hiding his head. The actual Mark 50 model of that sword, of that shield rather, would block. You wouldn't be able to see Tony through it. But this has no such problems. I'm going to tilt that head down just to give him his game face. I keep thumbing that bicep and it keeps moving it out of the way. Now, while holding this and supporting the stand with my elbow, I'm going to go ahead and bend that stand back, which is something I should have done in the first place. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring him in and kind of bring it in so that the stand is between his legs. And then we're going to rotate it back forward, kind of creating a balance point. Now you could get more elevation out of this if you wanted to, but that would also kind of limit your clearance here. So I think that as long as the feet are off the ground, then the illusion is still there. The illusion of flight is still there. I think it's going to work. I think it's going to work. It's a little too front heavy. Bend the stand back some more, and then forward some more. Oh, which puts his foot on the ground. That sucks. So I've got to adjust this because trying to bring the center of gravity further back on the stand resulted in a little bit too low to the ground. His feet were actually touching the ground. So I'm going to go ahead and raise that a little bit higher and tighten it. Okay. Success. We were able to get the housing onto him. Let's go ahead and shove this further in. And I don't quite like the angle, so I'm going to tilt the stand a little bit just to create more dynamics. And there it is. That is my first Ironman, Neontech Ironman 3.0 pose. That is really pretty. Okay. Hot Toys has a long history of creating variants like the Neontech line of armors, and it legitimately emphasizes their passion for the artistry of 6-scale figures. They're a gorgeous mashup of multiple styles which, whether alone on a shelf or paired with similar Neontech armors, serve as a natural highlight in any display. Speaking of highlights, if you have access to a black light, try it on these figures. You won't be disappointed.